Now that the regular season is over and the playoff picture is set, there are a lot of questions looming around the Los Angeles Lakers organization. Who's the new head coach? Trade Westbrook or Davis? Or maybe trade both? But in this video we'll be answering none of these questions, but we will be looking back at LeBron's tenure with the Los Angeles Lakers. Welcome to this episode of Game Time Sloth, and this time we'll be discussing LeBron James and the death of the small market teams in the NBA. The biggest mistake of LeBron James's career was joining the Los Angeles Lakers after carrying the Cavs to the finals and getting swept by Golden State. He made it clear that he's not coming back to Cleveland. Not that there is anything wrong with the Lakers, but it was a move that made zero sense to me. Why go to a big market team where you won't even be considered an all-time great? Well, unless LeBron delivers 3 championships to the Lakers. Kareem, Magic, Worthy, Kobe, Shaq, those are big names for one organization to handle. Now don't get me wrong, LeBron James is the GOAT, but that's a topic for another video. What I'm trying to say here is, decisions like this have killed small market teams. And that's the main issue I want to talk about. LeBron James' decision to move to Los Angeles have killed small market teams in the NBA. Now look at the situation we have on our hands. No one's joining Giannis in Milwaukee, no one's joining Luka with Dallas, and no one's joining Trae Young in Atlanta. All the superstars move along together. Look at the situation in Brooklyn, Los Angeles, and Miami. Let me set the scene for you. It's 2018. The Warriors just swept the Cavaliers in the NBA Finals, and LeBron have made his decision to finally move on from the Cavs. Other than the Lakers, what other teams LeBron could have joined and made an instant impact? Let's talk about that. Being LeBron James, he could have joined any team and had a strong impact instantly. But let's take LeBron's legacy into consideration for just 1 second and eliminate some of the teams he could have joined. Number 1, the Warriors. Why join the super team that beat you in 3 out of the last 4 NBA Finals? Joining the Warriors would demolish LeBron James's legacy. Number 2, the Bulls? No, because that would heat up the GOAT debate, and that will always be Michael Jordan's team. You can also scratch off the Hornets because Michael Jordan owns them. As well as the Celtics. I don't think LeBron would have wanted to join Kyrie in Boston after what Kyrie did to him in Cleveland. Now, was the Lakers the best option for LeBron? Now, not to go into too much detail and discuss all 25 remaining teams, I will review the best scenarios in my opinion that would have made much more sense for LeBron to join than the Lakers. First, let's stick with Los Angeles. Why join the Lakers when you can join the Clippers? Yes, the Lakers are a far superior team historically, but it's too much hype to live up to. Not that LeBron can't live up to that kind of hype. He is the king after all. But like I said earlier, he won't be considered an all-time great Laker, even with the championship he delivered in 2020. Now the Clippers are a small market team, even if they are in Los Angeles. If LeBron joined the Clippers back in 2018, he would have elevated them out of the basement of back then Staples Center. The second team LeBron could have joined and made much more sense than the Lakers is the Portland Trailblazers. Why not match the firepower of Golden State's backcourt, the Splash Brothers, with the backcourt that was already in Portland, Dame and CJ? That would have been one hell of a matchup come playoff time. Now the third team that would have made more sense than the Lakers is Houston. Nothing much explaining in that area. Point guard, the beard, the GOAT. Has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? And taking a small trip to the East Coast to visit our number 4 option that LeBron could have joined instead of the Lakers, the Philadelphia 76ers. They had a very nice young core with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, and it's worth mentioning that these 2 players can play phenomenal defense, and that would have given LeBron more room to take over games with scoring. If LeBron enjoys the spotlight that much, he could have joined the 5th team on our list, the New York Knicks. Even with the mess of a front office that organization had, Le GM would have fixed it easily. As a Nuggets fan, I would have really loved to see LeBron in a Nuggets uniform because he made the perfect fit for the team. Yes, he would have been walking into the same situation as the Lakers with a very young core, but look at the skill levels. would you rather have started a team with Kuzma, Ingram, and KCP, or Jokic, Murray, and Millsap? Yeah, Millsap wasn't a spring chicken back then, but you get the idea. Gary Harris was also on that Nuggets squad, but I'm pretty sure LeBron would have traded him earlier than the Nuggets did in 2021. Now, of course, you can make the argument that two ball dominant players won't work on the same team, LeBron and Jokic. But here's the silver lining. Jokic doesn't have any ego, and he would have let LeBron run the offense. Think about it. The two best passing non-point guard players on the same team, plus Jamal Murray, they would have been unguardable. Honorable mentions go to Luka and the Mavs, Giannis, Middleton and the Bucks, Karl Anthony Towns and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, what do most of these teams have in common, aside from the Mavs, the Bucks, and the Rockets? None of these teams have won a championship, or in some cases, even made the finals. What if LeBron joined one of those teams and got them a championship like he did with the Cavaliers and the state of Ohio and got them their first championship in 52 years? How much of a boost would it have been to his legacy? Yes, he won a championship for the Lakers, and that doesn't mean his stint there was a total failure. But at what cost? Breaking his streak of making the playoffs 13 straight times in 2018? Losing to the Suns in the first round in 2020? LeBron never lost in the first round. Or being a super team disappointment in 2021 and not making the playoffs at all? One of the key arguments in the GOAT debate was that LeBron never lost in the first round like Michael Jordan did. Well, we can't say that anymore. At his age, LeBron is doing unimaginable things in the NBA, but he could have had more rings with other teams. I understand why he chose Los Angeles and Hollywood. But when you start thinking about Space Jam 2 instead of winning more rings, that's some questionable judgment on LeBron's behalf. To sum up my argument, in just 4 seasons, 3 of which are failures in LeBron's standards, LeBron has managed to turn one of the youngest teams in the NBA into the oldest team. The 2021-2022 Lakers are basically MJ's Wizards. If LeBron is trying to build his legacy to be like Mike, pun intended, and even better than Mike, then being compared to Jordan's Wizards is not the right way to do so.